One of the questions we commonly get about steel fighting in our rule set is why no thrusting? Obviously we can thrust with rattan weapons, and there are other sports such as épée fencing and then Schlager fencing, heavier weapons that do allow thrusting, but we don't allow it. And the reason is very simply that these weapons just do not bend as much and still keep a historical profile. So this weapon is not going to bend enough for us to allow thrusting to any soft portion of the body. And more importantly, you can easily thrust into someone's eye slot regardless of how safe looking that helmet is. These are both very safe looking helmets, and yet I can thrust into the helmet relatively simply, and we don't really want to see that happening. Yes, it's not very likely, but not very likely is not the same as not going to happen. So we're choosing to actually use, shall we say, take ourselves a benefit of other sports that have been allowing thrusting, and then decided that it wasn't a good idea. So here we have some Russians fighting. They're in a nice arena, and as you can see, they're allowing techniques that we're not allowing. It's a far more brutal kind of fight, and yet despite that, these people found thrusting to be a little too difficult to allow because it was too dangerous. Here's another sample of that same kind of effect. Here we see people fighting, and they're using everything including logs. If you watch this man who walks up, he will be climbing up a hill, and he will be very, very sad that logs are allowed in a very short amount of time. Again, these people found thrusting to be unsafe, and there's the log. So I think you understand what I'm talking about when I say that we are going to benefit from the experience of some 30 years of fighting overseas, where they've decided that thrusting just couldn't be done safely enough, and yet are still willing to allow other forms of combat that we deem unsafe. So we're not going to try to duplicate the same experiment.